Last week, we began the story of Erlang Shen, the vagrant boy who tamed the dog that tried to eat the sun and, with his sister, was adopted by the mystic Yuding Zhenren. After many years of studying with the master, he reveals to them that their mother was a goddess who came to Earth and suffered a mortal wound defending humankind from a terrible dragon. And this week, we complete that story and learn why Erlang Shen is held in such high esteem as a model son. Join me, Jaer Christie, as I explore the hidden legends that shape the world on The Mythographist, Myths of Mainland China. The Legend of Erlang Shen, Part 2, The Woman Under the Mountain. Erlang and his sister Yang Chen sit at the feet of their master, waiting to hear the story of their family for the first time. "The dragon clawed our mother through the heart," whispers Yang Chen. "I do not know how she could survive that." Yuding Zhenren smiles, a hint of sadness in his voice as he resumes his tale. "The goddess Yaoji does not regret her choices, to descend from heaven, or to spend so long in these mortal lands, or to defend, even give her life for the people she met. She is at the end of her time in the realms of the living, and she is satisfied." "Goddess," the mortal man says again, breaking through the fog that rises in her mind. "Goddess, do not give up hope." "You have saved us," the man says. "I am only an ordinary man. I do not know medicine or the ways of the gods, but even so, I do know that I will gladly offer my heart in place of yours, that you may live." "I have lived a good life," Yaoji says, trying to protest, but she is too weak even for that. And before she can stop him, the man opens his ribcage and removes his own heart and places it within Yaoji's chest. It begins to pump blood through her body and she feels strength returning to her. "What is the name of my rescuer?" she asks in gentle wonder. "Who is the one so selfless that he would give his life for mine, though he knows not even my name?" Weakly, for his heart is gone, the man answers, "Your humble servant is Yang Tianyou, a scholar from a village you have saved this day." And though Yaoji feels gratitude towards this scholar, there is another emotion that sweeps over her, and she knows love for the first time. "My dear scholar, as you have spared my life, so by the powers of the heavens I shall spare yours too," she says, and she summons a burst of heavenly power. She touches his chest, and her magic flows into him and sustains Yang Tianyou, keeping him alive, though he gave the goddess his heart. Their love blossoms, and it is not long before they are married, Yaoji swiftly growing fond of her new home and her new life. She gives birth to 3 children, first a son, Yang Jiao, then a second son, Yang Jian, and finally a daughter, Yang Chen. Each child has gifts of the gods, for their mother is divine. And for several years it seems as though theirs shall be a quiet life filled with peace and love. But it is not to last, for in the heavens Yu Huangdadi, the Jade Emperor and brother to Yaoji, discovers his sister's life down in the mortal world. Rage fills him, fury overtakes him, and he sends forth his armies. "Bring me my sister who has forsaken our family and her birthright, endangered herself and interfered with sacred business," he bellows. "Destroy her family, those half-gods who bring disgrace upon our heavenly realms." The armies descend, and this is what they find. Yang Tianyou plays with his eldest son, Yang Jiao, in their courtyard. The heavenly troops kill them both and quickly overrun the family home. Now, Yaoji is with Yang Jian and Yang Chen in the inner room of the house, and she hears the screams and shouts coming from outside. She knows it can be only one thing, the thing she has dreaded for years, her brother's vengeance. And her heart, the heart of Yang Tianyou, weeps within her, but she does not know fear. She knows only what must be done. So she takes her 2 young children and puts them each in a basket, and puts the baskets in a closet, and covers them with blankets and rubbish, and returns to her work. And when her brother's armies sweep through the house, they find her and take her, and they do not bother to check for any others, for they have captured Yao Ji and killed all of her family that they can see. And Yao Ji stands chained before her brother, Yu Huangdadi, the Jade Emperor, defiance in her eyes. "You have killed my husband and my son," she says. "Are you satisfied in your cruelty?" "Why are you angered, dear sister?" the Jade Emperor replies impartially. "For you have betrayed me and all the heavenly kingdoms, leaving us for a mere mortal." "If you wish to shame me for finding love, when here I found none, you may try," returns Yao Ji. "But you will not find me penitent or remorseful, only disappointed that my brother is so short-sighted." "You are my sister," Yu Huangdadi says, ignoring her words, "and so I will not have you executed. But even so, you will not avoid punishment. No, all must know that to defy me is to invite the vengeance of the heavens." He contemplates for a moment, then orders, "Bury her. Put her beneath Taoshan, the mountain where the peach trees blossom, and there she shall remain where none will dare rescue her. For an endless life of punishment is a stronger warning than a swift death." And Erlang Shen, whose name is also Yang Jian, and his sister Yang Chen sit in silence and wonder. Yuding Zhenren says solemnly, "And your mother remains imprisoned beneath Mount Tao, even to this day." Erlang does not speak of the matter, either to his sister or to his master, but after this he trains harder than ever before. He forges a great axe taller than himself and with a head that weighs more than a man, and he masters it with as much skill as he has mastered his divine spear. Yuding Zhenren does not ask why he does these things, but he fears that the young man will seek futile revenge upon his uncle, the Jade Emperor, Yu Huangdadi. So he teaches Erlang and Yang Chen in the way, hoping that, even if they do not heed his words, perhaps, at least, they will not be too reckless. Finally, there comes a day when Erlang bids his master and sister farewell. He tells them not where he may go, but simply sets out. And his dog Xiaotian, the dog who would eat the sun, follows close behind. He and Xiaotian travel from village to village. They stay in no one place for very long and speak little, only enough to ask for word of a mountain called Taoshan. The road takes them many miles. They travel for day upon day. Their path winds through the wilderness, and Erlang wonders at the rumor that came with the mountain's name, that there is an army camped around its base. Erlang sees the mountain many days before he and Xiaotian reach it. There are many mountains, and they slouch southward, but the one he seeks rises high above them all. Its bare summit seems to bear ominous tidings. When finally the pair arrives at Taoshan, indeed, the tents of a great army circle its base, and guards block all roads up the steep slopes. "These paths are closed, traveler," says the captain of the guard as Erlang approaches them. "The ways of Mount Tao may be trod by no mortal." Erlang opens his third eye and sees the truth, that these soldiers are no mere men, but rather heavenly warriors sent by his uncle, the Jade Emperor. "What business have you here, O soldiers of the heavens?" he asks. "What war do you wage in mortal lands? Is there no distance between our worlds?" The soldiers look at him with surprise, for none should be able to see that they are not flesh and blood. "There's no war here," the captain says finally. "We simply guard the mountain for the good of mortal travelers, for it is a treacherous place full of danger." "Ah," says Erlang, smiling, "then you have no reason to stop me. The reason I can see the truth of who you are is that I myself am an immortal, and a student of the way, and the perils here will present me with no difficulty." "We are terribly sorry," the captain says politely, "but none are permitted to climb the mountain." "Let me pass," says Erlang, "or I will force my way to the mountain." And he draws the divine spear, and Xiaotian bares his teeth, growling. Do not make the mistake of threatening the armies of the Jade Emperor, warns the captain, and his troops draw their own swords. The nephew of the Jade Emperor says nothing, but only advances. He and the dog from the sky meet the guards head-on, and though the battle is fierce, it is not long. The captain lies in the dust beside his troops as Erlang slings his spear over his shoulder. "What business do you have on Mount Tau?" he calls as Erlang walks past him. "Tell your master that I go to find my mother," Erlang replies over his shoulder, and he begins his climb up to the peak. The path is steep. It snakes up the side of Taoshan until it reaches the spine of the mountain. Trees fall away, and soon bushes and grasses, and Erlang and Xiaotian scramble over boulders and scree, and nothing more. Winds buffet them, wispy gray clouds surround them, the heavens above press down upon them. But onward still they struggle, until at last they reach the summit. Erlang's great axe is heavy in his hands. He does not stop to catch his breath, for he sees the truth within the mountain, the truth that has waited, hidden, for so long. He raises his axe above his head, and he feels divine power well up within him. And then, with all the strength of both worlds, the mortal and the immortal, he brings the axe crashing down. Stone trembles, the living rock shudders, and then a crack, a fracture that spiderwebs down through the center of the mountain. Such is the force of Erlang's blow that Taoshan itself, the entire mountain, is split from top to bottom, and a gulf yawns open. And there, at the bottom of the fissure, is a lone figure. Down Erlang leaps, plunging into the center of the rocky rubble. It is a woman. With one swing of his axe, he breaks the chains that bind her, and he kneels beside her. "Are you Yao Ji?" Erlang asks, "imprisoned beneath Mount Tao?" Though she is covered in sunless years of dust, still the woman seems to glow with an inner radiance. She looks up at Erlang. "Yes," she says softly, and it is as if she begins to remember words and speech. "I am she for whom Yang Tianyou gave his heart, and I carry it still." And she smiles. "I am Yang Jian, called Erlang," whispers the warrior. "I am your son." Yao Ji gazes into her son's eyes. She sees both the man he has become and the son she feared she had lost so many years ago, when she was captured and imprisoned beneath Taoshan. "Your daughter, Yang Chan, also lives and is waiting for you," Erlang continues. "I have been looking for you for so long." And Yao Ji embraces her son, half god and half man. He helps her stand, and together they leave the broken mountain where Yu Huang Dadi had sought to keep her forever. So here's the bones of this story, as it's usually told. Erlang has a third eye, a sky dog, and a divine spear. He uses an axe to cut Taoshan in half because his mother is imprisoned under it. His mother, Yao Ji, is Yudi's sister. She had gone to Earth against family wishes, killed a dragon, and would have died in the process if she hadn't been rescued by Yang Tianyou's heart donation. They fell in love, got married, and had 3 kids before Yudi found out. Yao Ji's friendly brother proceeds to kill her husband and eldest child, and locks her under a mountain, which is where Erlang Shen finds her and rescues her years later. This story is always told as Erlang's story. While he is the title character of the legend, the story itself is pretty complex, and seems to actually center around his mother and her decisions, and how they affect the direction of Erlang's own life. I did add the details about Yudi's army at Taoshan, just because it seems like a good story beat to have there. As for the mountain itself, the only Taoshan I've found is in Taiwan. It doesn't look very split in half to me, so I don't know. Peaches are frequently associated with immortality in Chinese mythology. There are stories about Xi Wang Mu and the Monkey King that involve peaches, and it's possible that this is meant to be a heavenly mountain rather than an earthly one. It's also possible that it's wordplay, as Tao can also mean the way, as in Taoism, in addition to peach. Whatever the case, I do think that the story is old enough that if it ever did refer to a real place, it's gone through at least a few name changes in the meantime. Erlang Shen is probably in the top 4, alongside Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, Daji, and Nejia as Chinese mythological figure most frequently used as a video game character. I assume this is because, magic third eye that shoots lasers, magic spear, magic space dog. He's pretty darn cool. He's also ripe for adaptation and very much in the public domain. Another contributing factor, though, is that he's in the public consciousness. He appears in ancient Chinese novels like Investiture of the Gods, but also thanks to a 1928 movie called Bao Lian Dong, or Magic Lotus Lantern in English. In this movie, and its many subsequent remakes, it's actually Erlang Shen's sister who falls in love and gets stuck under a mountain. Erlang becomes the villainous brother, and his nephew splits open the mountain to free his mother. Kinda confusing for new audiences, sure, but everyone in China knows that it's a different version of the story than the original. It seems that this movie drew inspiration from a traditional Chinese opera, which itself may have been based on the above legend, or may have been its own thing. Personally, I assume that the opera and the folktale were essentially the same story that I've presented here, and that the movie made the character switch, but as usual, this is pure conjecture. Probably pretty easy to find out if you're fluent in Chinese and have a few hours to go down an internet rabbit hole, though. Finally, I want to bring it back to Tomb Sweeping Day, or Qingmingjie, the Chinese holiday that honors family and ancestors. Family plays a massive role in Chinese culture. A lot of weight is given to the feelings and opinions of family elders, and you're a good son or daughter if you put them first. And Erlang Shen epitomizes this. Even though he essentially grew up an orphan, he still defied the highest deity in the universe and broke a mountain in half to save his mom. It seems to me that his giving everything even though he received nothing attitude is what's caused him to be revered as being a very filial son, exemplifying what a son or daughter should be. Although hopefully he won't have to break a mountain in half to be considered a good child. Thanks for listening. This episode of The Mythographist was written, narrated, and produced by me, Jaer Christie, with research by myself and Elena Tung, and music by Xiaoqing Luna Li and the China National Orchestra. If you liked this episode, stick around because there's a lot more where this came from. Subscribe to get notified automatically when The Mythographist updates, and be sure to check out the rest of the episodes on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. Finally, if there's a story you grew up with that has shaped the way you see the world, I'd love to hear it. There are so many stories out there, and the more of them we hear, the more we'll understand each other. Remember, we can't learn if we don't listen. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time on The Mythographist.